Yo, what's up guys? It's Noah here, and in today's video, we're going to be breaking down the NBA slate on Draftkings and Yahoo for Wednesday, March the 3rd. We got a big slate for Wednesday. We got 10 games to break down, so I don't want to waste too much time. Just before we do get started with the breakdown, guys, as always, I would appreciate it if you'd hit that like button down below. Be sure to hit that subscribe button as well if you are new here. Click the notification bell so that way you do get notified every time I upload. You also get notified every time I do go live. Now, I'm not sure yet if I'm going to be streaming today on Wednesday. I'm not streaming Thursday, but there's a chance I could be able to stream today. We'll just have to wait and see. I might be busy this afternoon. It's to be determined. But yeah, if I do stream, guys, I'll be live, around 4 o'clock Eastern if I'm able to stream on my YouTube channel. You guys can tune in. We'll be able to answer all you guys' questions, break down everything, talk through this slate once again. So yeah, tune into the stream if I happen to go live Wednesday afternoon. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Check out my Patreon content, link down below in the description as well. If you do want some additional content from me, you like the videos I put out on YouTube, you want to see more that I do have to offer, you can check out the Patreon link down below. But let's go ahead and take a look at tonight's slate. We'll start off with the Pacers and the Cavs game. So on the Pacers side today, there isn't a ton that I really like here. This game overall is not that appealing on the slate. Sabonis and Brogdon, I think, are always guys that are viable in tournaments. This doesn't feel like a slate where I'm going to be going out of my way to play them. There's just so many games, so many other better spots. There's a lot of shorthanded teams on the slate. The Pacers at this point are basically fully healthy. Obviously, Karis LeVert and TJ Warren are still out, but the guys have been priced to reflect that. I guess we do need to watch the status of Doug McDermott and Jeremy Lamb. They are both currently questionable. Doug McDermott is a starter, so I'm not exactly sure who they would start if he were to get ruled out. It could potentially be, maybe they would start Edmund Sumner, maybe they would start Jakar Sampson. We don't really know. There could maybe be some value from Indiana if McDermott gets ruled out and one of those guys starts because they are really cheap. Jeremy Lamb also questionable, so if he were to miss again, we'll have to see. It says right here, though, that he's likely to play. So, yeah, maybe Jeremy Lamb would start if McDermott were to get ruled out, if he were to play. But I don't really like a ton from this Pacers team. This is not that appealing of a game. Moving on to the Cavs side, really isn't a ton I like here either. Like Jared Allen, again, I think is a guy that's always in play for tournaments. But at 8,700, there's other centers I'd rather go to on this slate. I don't want to pay that much for Jared Allen here. Yeah, I think this is just a fade for me, not a game that I really want to have that much exposure to. Now, moving on to the next one, Utah and Philly. So this should be a really good game to watch. I don't know if this is one I really want to target much for DFS. When this Jazz team is fully healthy, this isn't a team I usually get a ton of exposure to. It's rare that I, go out of my way to play any of these Jazz guys when they're fully healthy. And especially today, kind of the case. Everyone's priced appropriately. The matchup isn't great. We have so many other teams that are, shorthanded, that have guys that are going to get increased usage and stuff. So, yeah, I don't really like a ton of Jazz here. If I had to play anyone, it would probably be like Donovan Mitchell or Mike Conley. But, yeah, the Jazz are not a team I have much interest in either. On the Sixers, not a team I really like much either. I mean, we do need to watch the status of Tobias Harris. He is currently questionable, but again, he's been out the last few games. So a lot of the guys that have been benefiting from Tobias Harris being out have been, priced up to reflect that. Shake Milton's been the clear beneficiary. He's gotten big minutes these last two games with Tobias Harris out. 27, 37 DK points. Even at 5K, I still think Shake Milton is viable on the slate if Tobias Harris is out again because Shake Milton is a pretty productive player when he does get minutes, and it seems pretty clear that he's going to play around 30 minutes off the bench if Tobias Harris were to be out. He seems like the guy they want to go with, off the bench. So I'd actually have some interest in Shake Milton if Harris were to be out. Joel Embiid in a matchup against Rudy Gobert in a tough matchup against the Jazz. This doesn't feel like a slate where I really want to go out of my way to pay up for Embiid. Kind of the same with Ben Simmons. So yeah, I think that really does it for Philly. Mike Scott started last game in place of Tobias Harris. He had 24 DK points in 25 minutes. If he starts again, 3,500, he's a decent value, but obviously not a guy that you really feel that confident in. Not someone that has a ton of upside. He kind of got lucky last game having 4 steals. Obviously, that's not something we can expect to happen every night. So yeah, not that appealing of a game. We can go ahead and move on to the next one. Now this is where it starts to get really interesting. So Detroit and Toronto, both these teams were supposed to play on Tuesday, but the game had to get postponed. They're playing again they're expected to play on Wednesday though. So right now, I don't know why, but a lot of the guys on Detroit are listed as out, which makes it really confusing for me personally, trying to view this. But just going ahead and looking at this Detroit team, the only guy that is out for Detroit is Blake Griffin, I believe. At least the guy, that's meaningful. Everyone else here is going to play. Plumlee, obviously DeLon Wright's still out, but like Josh Jackson, Plumlee, Sadiq Bey, Wright, Smith, these guys are going to play. Jeremy Grant is questionable, so this is something we will need to monitor. If he were to sit, that would make me like a guy like Josh Jackson more. That would open up some potential value with maybe someone like Sekou Doumbouya, whose minimum salary. So we'll need to watch stats of Jeremy Grant. That does impact a decent amount. But looking at this Detroit team, there isn't a ton I like from Detroit. A lot of my interest in this game is coming on the Toronto side. If I had to play anyone on Detroit today, I think, Sekou, if Grant were to sit, is definitely someone I'll be looking to for value. I'll like Josh Jackson a decent amount if Jeremy Grant gets ruled out. Dennis Smith Jr. has been playing a lot better lately. He's been their number one point guard these last few games. It seems like he's kind of past Saben Lee now. At first it was Saben Lee who was getting all the minutes, was playing really well. Now they kind of flip-flopped. It's been Dennis Smith Jr. who's been getting the minutes and playing really well. Assuming we're getting 26, 28 minutes from Dennis Smith Jr. at $4,900, he's a fine point guard option. There's other point guards I think I prefer over him in his price range. But yeah, Dennis Smith Jr. is a fine play if you want to go to him. I don't mind, some of those other guys we talked about if Jeremy Grant were to sit, but we can go ahead and move on to the Toronto side. So where Toronto is where it's very interesting. So we do know right now that Fred VanVleet, he has already been ruled out for this game for for COVID protocols. He's been ruled out. We know that Pascal Siakam remains out, and OG Anunoby is also out. So Fred VanVleet, Pascal Siakam, OG are all out. Those are the three impactful ones. We do know that I think there's some other guys out. I think Patrick McCall, yeah, he remains out for this game. That doesn't really affect too much. I think Mac Thomas is going to play, though. Yeah, he's going to play. Paul Watson, I believe, is available to play. And I think Hall, Flynn, and Harris are all available to play. So the key injuries here are VanVleet's out, Siakam is out, and OG is out. Obviously, I don't know why, but right now Draftkings has like all these guys listed as out. It's super confusing, but so right now with VanVleet, Siakam, and OG all out, I think there's some clear guys we want to target here. Kyle Lowry is the first that stands out to me. He's one of the best plays on this slate in my opinion. 8,100 on DK. He didn't get priced up enough for VanVleet being out today. He did get a price bump on Yahoo, but even at $36, I have no problems paying that price tag for Lowry with VanVleet and Siakam both out today. Lowry's going to dominate the usage. We've seen the upside that he has when, one of these guys are out. He had a huge game the other day when Siakam was out. Pretty sure these last two games, Siakam's been out in both those games. I love Lowry here. It's hard not to like him. He's one of the best plays on the slate. Feels like a clear top option. He's going to dominate the usage tonight and is a clear top play for me. So love Kyle Lowry. I think Norman Powell is a great play as well at 6,700. With no VanVleet, no Siakam, he's just going to get a ton of usage, a ton of opportunity. We've seen that Norman Powell, when he gets opportunity to score, to produce, he can go out there and produce. He can do what he has to do. I don't mind paying 6,700 for him. We know we're going to get big minutes from Norman Powell. He's going to get increased usage with no VanVleet, with no Siakam. So really do like Norman Powell. He's another guy that stands out from the Raptors today. With Siakam still out, I expect Chris Boucher starts again and probably plays around 30 minutes. At 6,400, I love Boucher on the slate. It's a great matchup against the Pistons. The Pistons have been a team that's been killed by centers this year. I think Boucher stands out as one of the best center plays on the slate. Love him on both sides, even at $26 on Yahoo, even though he saw a price bump over there. I still think Boucher is a great option on Yahoo as well. So Boucher, Lowry, Powell, love all those guys from Toronto today. Aaron Baines, not as interested in. I don't think he really benefits that much. Obviously, he benefits with Siakam out, but even last game when Siakam was out, Aaron Baines still only played 15 minutes. I don't think he's going to play a ton here. I think Boucher's their clear starting center right now. But then we do need to talk about these other guys. So I have no idea what Toronto's starting lineup's going to look like today. I'd assume that Lowry, Powell, and Boucher are all going to start, but I have no idea who starts for OG. I have no idea who starts for VanVleet. My best guess is they go with Terrence Davis for VanVleet and they go with Bembry for OG. So they use a starting lineup of Lowry, Davis, Bembry, Lowry, Davis, Bembry, Powell. Do they play Powell at the 4? I really don't know. We're just going to have to wait and see. They could do a lot of things with their starting lineup. I think the starting lineup is going to impact a good amount. As of now, I think Terrence Davis is a great value play, whether he starts or comes off the bench. I expect the minutes to be there without Fred VanVleet. They're just super thin. VanVleet's someone that plays a ton of minutes, so without him, those minutes are going to have to go somewhere, and I expect Davis to be a big beneficiary. At 3,400, he looks like one of the better value plays on this slate, assuming that I don't want to even say assuming he does start, because I still think Davis is in play even if he comes off the bench. Terrence Davis, he's always been a productive player when he does get the minutes. I think he's likely to get at least 18 to 20 minutes if he comes off the bench. If he starts, I feel very confident that he gets mid to high 20s minutes. It's really hard not to like him at 3,400. If he starts, he's going to be the best value play on the slate. Even if he comes off the bench, I think he's still viable. DeAndre Bembry, a guy that doesn't have a ton of upside, but with no Siakam, with no Van Vliet, like those are two very high usage players that are going to be out. That's going to allow for Bembry to at least do a little bit more. At 3,700, he's a decent value play on the slate. I don't mind him at all. And then these other guys, we'll have to wait and see what the starting lineup is. So if we get a scenario where like Utah starts or they start Stanley Johnson, then both those guys will become viable cheap options. I don't know if I want to go to them if they're coming off the bench, just because I don't know if the minutes are going to be there or if they're going to play enough minutes. But yeah, we got to wait and see what their starting lineup is. If Utah starts, if Stanley Johnson starts, then they definitely become good value plays that I'll be looking to. Terrence Davis, I think I'm going to be on him whether he starts or comes off the bench. It doesn't really matter. I think the minutes are going to be there for Terrence Davis. But yeah, that really does it for the Raptors. I mean, we got to wait for the starting lineup. But right now, Lowry, Davis, Boucher are definitely my three favorite plays from Toronto. I still think Powell's a great play, though. I have a lot of interest in him. I think Bembry's a good value. I assume Bembry most likely starts. But Utah, Stanley Johnson, they could be values too if they wind up starting. So that does it for Toronto. We can go ahead and move on to the next game on this slate, Brooklyn and Houston. So Brooklyn, a good amount to talk about here, mainly the top two guys, James Harden and Kyrie Irving. We do know that Kevin Durant's going to remain out, so the usage on this team is going to be continued to dominated by Harden and Irving. James Harden, first game back against Houston since he got traded. Look, I don't think narratives matter, but I don't think there's something you should be just jamming guys in because it's a revenge game or whatever. Like, you shouldn't be just jamming players into your lineups when they're in revenge games. But this is a narrative that I think definitely is meaningful. Harden obviously had some bad blood with Houston. I don't think it matters too much, but Harden's a great play regardless. Without Kevin Durant, we've seen the massive upside that Harden has. I think Harden's a great play no matter who he's going up against. You add in the little narrative against Houston, against his former team that he has some bad blood against. I like Harden a lot on this slate, and there's going to be plenty of value available, especially from Toronto. So it should be very easy to get him in. On Yahoo, he's expensive over there, but I think, again, Yahoo's usually a pretty easy site to jam in studs just because the value or the pricing on Yahoo is always so soft. So love Harden here in the revenge game against his former team. Really good matchup. Should be a pretty fast-paced game. Houston, they've been playing fast this year. They're better defensively, but still this is a fast-paced team. I think this game does have one of the higher totals on the slate right now. We don't have a total yet on this game, I don't think, but I assume it's going to come in at one of the highest. So, yeah, love Harden here. I think Kyrie's also in play, but I just prefer the upside you get on Harden. Harden's been doing a lot more with the peripherals, giving you triple-double upside every night. Had 80 Draftkings points, had a triple-double last game against San Antonio. Obviously benefited because the game went to overtime. But even at the end of regulation, he had like 65 or 70 Draftkings points, so he had even crushed to begin with. We know he's going to play a ton of minutes. I love Harden here. Hard not to like him, with how good he's been lately with KD out. And then some of these other Brooklyn guys are kind of actually appealing. So Jeff Green's currently doubtful. I think that does greatly benefit DeAndre Jordan. Last game with Jeff Green out, we did see DeAndre Jordan start at center. He played 35 minutes, had 36 Draftkings points. A small ball Houston team here that's been getting killed by bigs lately. I think DeAndre Jordan does have plenty of upside if he's going to continue to get big minutes. So I do have a good amount of interest in him at 5,700. I don't think I'm going to be on anyone else, though, on this Brooklyn team outside of Kyrie, Harden, and DeAndre Jordan. That probably does it for the Nets. So moving on to Houston and looking at the Rockets today. So John Wall, you got at 8,300. John Wall, I think, is a fine option on this slate. Oladipo's healthy. Eric Gordon's questionable. That'll be something to monitor. I don't think that affects John Wall too much. Normally, Wall's not a guy I go out of my way to play whenever Oladipo's healthy. Obviously, when Oladipo's out, that's when Wall really benefits, but yeah, I just think Wall's an okay option. Not someone I think, that I'm really going to be going out of my way to play. Same with Oladipo. Eric Gordon's questionable. If he were to sit, that would maybe make me feel better about a guy like maybe Sterling Brown. David Nwaba is out for this game. He's already been ruled out. Daniel House is also questionable. If we get a scenario where Daniel House is out plus Nwaba being out, Sterling Brown would probably have to get pretty good minutes. He played 31 minutes last game. I'd assume he'd get around 30 minutes again, especially if House were to sit. So for 4,100, he'd be a decent value play on the slate, a guy you could definitely look to. Justin Patton, I think, is a cheap center option we can look to. He's been getting big minutes lately since being inserted into the starting lineup. He's played 26 and 32 minutes, 20 and 25 Draftkings points. they're going to need his size against DeAndre Jordan. They really don't have any other big on the roster outside of Justin Patton. So I think we get around 30, maybe more than 30 minutes for Patton at 4K. If you need a cheap center option, I think he's definitely viable on this slate. But that probably does it for the Rockets today. I think my main interest on this team, definitely if House and Gordon are out, I'd love Sterling Brown. He'd be a great value play. And then Patton, I think, makes a lot of sense as a cheap center option. But we can go ahead and move on to the next game, Charlotte and Minnesota. So Charlotte, they've been a team I've been pretty heavy on these last few slates. I'm sure a lot of you guys have played Charlotte as well. We do need to watch stats of Gordon Hayward and Cody Zeller. Both of them are questionable once again. I think if Gordon Hayward and Cody Zeller both play, there isn't a ton that I love from the Charlotte team. Even if they're out, like a lot of these guys on the Hornets have been priced up to reflect that. Like PJ Washington is 6,700 now. Malik Monk's almost 6K. Bridges at 5,400. Cody Zeller, if he sits, that does benefit a guy like Bismack Biyombo, but like Biyombo's minutes have just been all over the place. He did start last game, played 29 minutes. He probably would start here and play around 30 minutes. At 3,500, he'd be a decent center value, but I actually think I probably would prefer Justin Patton over him. So I don't love too much on this Hornets team. If Gordon Hayward's out again, I think LaMelo's probably the guy I'd get to. Even at 9,200, I don't mind paying that price tag for LaMelo because we've seen the massive upside that he has. It's a great matchup against a fast-paced Minnesota team. So still think LaMelo is viable if Gordon Hayward's out. But if these guys play, there isn't too much I like on the Hornets today. If Hayward and Zeller are back, I don't think there's going to be too much I target on this team. So we can go ahead and move on to the Minnesota side. So with Minnesota, we do know Malik Beasley remains out. On this slate, I don't know if that impacts too much because a lot of these guys that have benefited with Beasley out have been priced up to reflect that. Anthony Edwards is almost 7K. Towns at 10K, I do like as a pay-up option. I think, in this matchup against the Hornets have always been a team you can pick on down low. They've always been bad defensively against bigs. Cat has a ton of upside here. He doesn't really feel like a guy that I'm going to be going out of my way to spend up for, but, if he fits into my build as a last piece in, totally fine with that. If I have the salary to pay up for Towns, he's definitely someone I will be looking to spend up for. Anthony Edwards, I've been interested in him lately with Malik Beasley out. He's definitely benefited, but 6,900 feels a little bit too expensive for Anthony Edwards. Don't know if I really want to pay that price for him. Same with a guy like Rubio. Same with a guy like Vanderbilt. These bench guys, they're just kind of dart throws. Like Jalen Noel, been getting decent minutes, but like last game only 21 minutes with Beasley out. He's probably going to get like low 20s minutes at 4K. He's just like, whatever. I don't think he's that really that good of a value. I would definitely rather play Sterling Brown over him. So yeah, this Hornets team, or this Timberwolves team, not that appealing on the slate. Everyone's just kind of been priced appropriately. There's really no standout plays here given pricing. So moving on to the next game, the Bulls and the Pelicans. So this should be a great game to target for DFS. Two very fast-paced teams. We do have a really high total in this game. Right now, this game has a 236, 236.5 total. So a lot to like here. I don't know if there's any like core plays, cash game plays from the Bulls today, but a lot of guys in tournaments that have plenty of upside. Zach LaVine, I think, has a ton of upside in tournaments. If he's someone you want to pay up for, I think he is going to be a little bit lower owned. So definitely someone you could be looking to in tournaments for lower ownership. Kobe White, kind of the same thing. I don't expect him to be that popular, so if you want to go there in tournaments, you definitely could. Not too much else, though, that I like on this Bulls team. Lowry Markkanen is doubtful. He's not expected to play. Thaddeus Young, just kind of been priced appropriately. Same with Wendell Carter. Like Wendell Carter, 5,700, I think still has upside at this price point, but he's been really struggling lately. Has not been playing that well. This is a matchup where he should be able to get back on track. In a good game environment, fast-paced game. Patrick Williams, 4,800. We know we're going to get about 32, 34 minutes from him in a good matchup, a fast-paced game. He's an okay option if you're looking for a pay-down option at small forward, but I think it's really like LaVine and White in tournaments, and that's probably it for me on the Bulls side. Now, looking at the Pelicans today, so again, I think this is a team that you have really good tournament plays. I don't know if any of these guys are going to be cash game considerations for me outside of maybe Eric Bledsoe at his price. But Zion, I think, has massive upside in tournaments. Definitely someone you could look to. Zion, Brandon Ingram, they both feel like guys that I'm if they fit into my lineup, I am totally fine playing them on this slate. It is a really good matchup. It's a great game environment. I will note that Brandon Ingram, he's pretty affordable on Yahoo. If you play over there, he's $31. I think that's definitely too cheap for Brandon Ingram in this matchup. So I do like him as a small forward option there. Zion is $40, so you could look to him as well. I think Zion and Ingram are both very solid plays in this good matchup. Lonzo had a really good game last game at 6,800. Don't know if I want to pay that price tag for Lonzo, even in a good spot like this. I think I'd rather just play Ingram or Zion. Eric Bledsoe, though, I do have a good amount of interest in. I think he's still he's too cheap on DraftKings. Like, 5,300, we've been getting 35, 36 minutes from Eric Bledsoe. If he's going to play 35, 36 minutes here in a great game environment in one of the fastest paced games of the night, like, Bledsoe has a ton of upside if he's going to be getting the minutes. He should be probably closer to 6K right now that he's consistently playing 35, 36 minutes. So I actually like Eric Bledsoe quite a bit. I think on Yahoo, he does look like one of the better shooting guard plays today. At least right now, at $18, I think that's definitely too cheap for Eric Bledsoe. And I like him on DraftKings as well if you want to play him there. I think, totally fine going with Bledsoe on DK. But that probably does it for the Pelicans for me. Steven Adams, as a mid-range center option, he's fine to go to. Probably going to play around 30 minutes. It is a good matchup. There's probably other centers I think I'd rather get to. Like, I'd rather play Chris Boucher if I can find the salary. We're going to talk about these Lakers bigs with Marc Gasol out Tuesday night, We could have some good plays from the Lakers, front court again with a guy like Montrezl Harrell, who I would probably prefer over Steven Adams. But yeah, Steven Adams is viable. I think my favorite plays though from the Pelicans today are definitely Zion, Ingram, and Eric Bledsoe. Those are the guys I like most from New Orleans. But moving on to the next game, Atlanta and Orlando. So on Atlanta today, this is a back-to-back for the Hawks. I don't think that's going to affect too much, but on this Hawks team, there really isn't a ton I like here. This isn't that good of a matchup against Orlando. Everyone's just kind of been priced appropriately. I had a good amount of interest in John Collins on Tuesday's slate. That really didn't go well. He didn't have that good of a game. I'm not going to play him today, so I'm sure he's going to have a big game, but yeah, I just don't like any of these Atlanta guys. I think all of them are just priced appropriately. If anything, they're a little bit overpriced. Not a ton I like on the Hawks today. Moving on to the Magic side, we do have a pretty big injury to watch on the Magic today. Evan Fournier, he is currently listed as questionable. This will be something to monitor. We could definitely get some potential value from Orlando if Fournier were to be out. I'd assume that if Fournier sits, they probably start a guy like Dwayne Bacon maybe. Like, I don't really know what they're going to do with the starting lineup. Obviously, MCW, Vooch are going to start. Dwayne Bacon did start last game with James Ennis out, and James Ennis has already been ruled out, so it's very likely that Dwayne Bacon's already starting. Yeah, maybe they start Terrence Ross. I really have no idea what they're going to do. They could probably slide Dwayne Bacon down to shooting guard and then start a guy like, start one of these forwards like Keem Birch or Okiki or something. So just keep an eye on that. If Fournier does wind up sitting, we could maybe get some value from Orlando depending on what their starting lineup is. I'd be a little bit more interested in Terrence Ross if Fournier were to sit. Ross is still somewhat expensive at $6,300, but his upside would be a lot higher if Fournier were to be out. That would also make me like Vooch a little bit more. Again, I don't know if this is a slate where I'm going to be going out of my way to pay up for Vooch, but some of these Orlando guys I think are solid tournament plays, like Vooch, like Terrence Ross. I'd have interest in both those guys if Fournier were to sit. And we could maybe get some value with a guy like Dwayne Bacon if Fournier were to be out. Maybe Okiki were to start or something, but not a ton that really stands out from this game. A lot of these later games I don't have that much interest in outside of the Lakers side, which we'll talk about in a second. But yeah, we're going to move on to the next one, OKC and Dallas. So on OKC, there really isn't anything from the Thunder I like much today at all. I mean, at this point, everyone's just priced appropriately. I know Hamidou Diallo and George Hill remain out, but everyone's just been priced to reflect that. Like, Malden's almost 5K. Baisley's 5,500. Like, nobody stands out from the Thunder today. This is just not an appealing team, a team I'm definitely going to be fading mostly. If I was to play anyone from OKC, it would be SGA. If I was playing a lot of lineups, I'd have SGA in my player pool, but not too much I like from the OKC side. Now, on Dallas, we have a huge injury to watch here on Dallas. So, Luka Doncic is currently listed as questionable. This is huge news, and I don't know exactly when we're going to get this news. Like, if we don't get news on Luka before lock, like, it's just going to make the slate super annoying. You're going to be late swapping. You're going to have to be at your computer ready to make changes because if Luka gets ruled out, I mean, that just changes the whole slate. That opens up a ton of value. That makes so many of these Dallas guys look like great plays. So, first off, if Luka plays, just to keep it simple, if Luka plays, I think the only guys I'd be interested in on Dallas are Luka and Porzingis, like always. Neither one, I think, would be top options for me. There's other guys I think I would rather spend for on the slate. But obviously, Luka has massive upside every night. He's always someone that you can play. I don't know if I'd be getting to him on this slate, but would definitely be viable. I'd assume that if we get news on him later in the night, that he comes in very low owned. Like, if we don't get word on Luka before or until 8 o'clock or something, like, he's going to be super low owned. So that would make him appealing for tournaments. But if we get a scenario where Luka is out, I think Porzingis gets a big bump, would be a much better option. I think Porzingis would be a top play if Luka were to sit. He'd get a ton of increased usage. I'd assume Jalen Brunson would start at point guard. I would love Jalen Brunson even at 5,300. He would be a great play. Josh Richardson would get a big bump. Tim Hardaway Jr. would get a big bump. Both those guys would be solid options as well. I don't think there'd be too much else I'd target. I guess Trey Burke is worth mentioning. If Luka were to sit, they could maybe start Trey Burke at $3K minimum salary. If he were to start, he would be a great value play. If he comes off the bench, I'd be a bit hesitant just because I don't know how many minutes he would play. But yeah, if Luka winds up out, there's just going to be a ton to like from Dallas. Hardaway, Brunson, Porzingis, Richardson, maybe Trey Burke, like all those guys will be really good plays if Luka sits. So we just got to wait and see on this Luka news. For now, I'm just going to assume he plays, but if he gets ruled out during the day, I'll definitely, if I stream today, if I stream in the afternoon, I'll be sure to update you guys in the stream, let you know who I'm on Dallas if we get news on Luka, before 4 o'clock when I stream. But yeah, let's go ahead and move on to the next game with the Warriors and the Blazers. So on the Warriors today, I think there's some guys here that are good tournament plays. I don't know if any of these guys are going to be cash game considerations for me, but Steph Curry against this Blazers team that is not good defensively, that does play relatively fast. Steph has plenty of upside here. I don't mind him in tournaments at 9,900. Draymond Green as well, plenty of upside against a pretty bad Portland defense. If I was going to play anyone on Golden State, it would be those two guys. I don't think I'm going to look to anyone else, though, on the Warriors outside of Curry and Green. Now, on Portland, it's kind of the same thing. It's really just like the top two guys, Damian Lillard and Enes Kanter. Both have been priced up, though. Like Lillard's 10,600, Kanter's 7,500. I don't think either one are going to be like core options for me at their price points. But again, good tournament plays, guys I would have exposure to if I was playing a lot of lineups. But I don't really like Covington at 6K. I don't really like Gary Trent at 5,800. Melo had a huge game off the bench last game. I don't know if I really want to chase that, but I guess you could go to Melo at 5,400. I think on the Blazers, though, it's Lillard and Kanter for me. Neither one are top options, but guys I would have exposure to, and if I was playing a good amount of lineups. But we can go ahead and talk about the last game of the night, the Lakers and the Kings. So the Lakers, this is a big team to watch in terms of injuries. The Lakers did play on Tuesday, and we got word around 5:30 Eastern Time when the injury report came out that Marc Gasol had been ruled out for health protocols. So Gasol was out on Tuesday, and then we got word like 10 minutes before tip-off that Kyle Kuzma was ruled out. So the Lakers, they were missing both Marc Gasol and Kyle Kuzma on Tuesday. We have no idea if they're going to play today. This is something we're just going to have to keep an eye on throughout the day. LeBron James, even on the back-to-back, I think LeBron is a solid pay-up option today. It is a really good matchup against the Kings. I haven't really been going out of my way to pay up for LeBron lately, but given this spot against a bad Kings defense, against a Kings team that does play at a very fast pace, I think LeBron does have plenty of upside here. So he's actually a pretty appealing pay-up option for me on this slate. Dennis Schroeder, I like a ton. I think Dennis Schroeder, again, he's too cheap in my opinion. 5,900 for Dennis Schroeder without Anthony Davis. This is a guy that is going to consistently, give you 30-plus DK points when AD's off the floor. I'm pretty sure he's having a pretty good game on Tuesday night against the Suns. I can check the box score real quick, but last time I checked, I think he had he was on pace for over 30 fantasy points. Halftime's just started, or halftime is just over. Third quarter's about to start. Schroeder has 10 points, one rebound, one assist, two turnovers, one block. So he has about, doing the math in my head, he's got about 14, 15 DK points at halftime, so he's on pace for around 30. Obviously, the matchup on Tuesday against the Suns wasn't, as good as this one. I think in a better matchup today against the Kings, I like Dennis Schroeder a good amount at 5,900. I think in that 5K range at guard, he is a pretty solid option. I do like him a good amount on both sides. I think he is a little bit too cheap on Yahoo as well, coming in at $17. I do like Dennis Schroeder quite a bit today, especially if Kuzma and Gasol remain out, because that's just two less bodies that the Lakers would have to throw out there. But yeah, these injuries to Kuzma and Gasol are going to be big to watch. So if they both play, I don't know if there's much I like from the Lakers if Kuzma and Gasol both play. If they both are out again, there's a lot of guys I think that are in play for value. So first off, Montrezl Harrell, he started in place of Marc Gasol. He didn't have the best first half, but if Gasol's out again and Harrell starts again, at 5,500, I think Harrell's a great center option. He'd be up there with Boucher in terms of my favorite center plays. I would love Montrezl Harrell at 5,500 in this matchup against the Kings if he does wind up starting again. So we're going to have to keep an eye on that. And then if Kyle Kuzma winds up out again, that's going to open up a lot of minutes in the front court. Markieff Morris, I'd assume he'd get way more minutes. At 3,700, he'd be a really solid value play if Kuzma were to sit again. Taylor Horton-Tucker would get more minutes off the bench. At 3,400, he'd be a solid value play as well. I'm pretty sure at halftime, both Morris and Taylor Horton-Tucker are having pretty solid games. Right now, Markieff Markieff Morris, he's played 16 minutes, so he's on pace for around 30 minutes on Tuesday. Has about 14 DraftKings points at halftime. Taylor Horton-Tucker only played 9 minutes, but he was really productive. Had 13 DK points in that time, 14 DK points. So both Taylor Horton-Tucker and Markieff Morris are having pretty solid games on Tuesday. If Kuzma is out again, I'm fine going right back to those guys for value. Morris is only 3,700. THT is only 3,400. Both those two guys will be really good value plays on this slate from the Lakers if Kuzma's out again. So got to watch the status of Kuzma. Got to watch the status of Gasol. Those are two big injuries that definitely impact some viable options on the Lakers. That the Lakers are definitely going to be a team we kind of look to for some value if Kuzma and Gasol are out again. Moving on to the Kings side and looking at the Kings before we do end the video. So we got to watch the status of Buddy Hield. He is currently questionable on this slate. This does impact a good amount. Buddy Hield does play a ton of minutes, so if he were to sit, there'd be a lot of minutes available. I'd assume you see a guy like probably Corey Joseph maybe. Maybe Corey Joseph moving to the starting lineup. He would definitely be someone I'd be looking to as a potential, value play. He's only 3,400. I'd assume he'd play over 30 minutes, especially since Halliburton is also out. With Halliburton out, that obviously benefits De'Aaron Fox. I think at 9K, De'Aaron Fox is a very solid mid-range option at point guard. For cheaper, I would probably rather play Kyle Lowry, but I don't mind Fox on the slate. He's just going to dominate the usage, going to get a ton of opportunity. He's someone I like a lot still with Halliburton out. Harrison Barnes, he's been playing really well with Halliburton out lately, but I don't want to pay 7K for Harrison Barnes. I'll let other people do that. Marvin Bagley, 6,600, just feels a little bit too expensive. Same with Rashawn Holmes at 6,500. I think there's just other centers I'd rather go to at that price range. But yeah, we got to watch the status of Buddy Hield. If Buddy Hield gets ruled out, I'm going to really like Corey Joseph as a value. I'd assume he would start. Maybe they could start like somebody else like Kyle Guy, but Joseph I think would be the biggest beneficiary if Buddy Hield gets ruled out. And regardless, I think De'Aaron Fox is a solid play at 9K. Those are the two guys I'm looking to most on the Kings today. But yeah, I think that does it for the Kings, guys. I think that does it for all 10 games on the slate. Broke everything down team by team. Pretty long video. We had a ton of games today, but excited for this big slate. There's definitely a lot of good plays today. It's going to be very interesting to see what news comes out throughout the day. We're going to have to wait and see what happens with Luka, some of these other guys that are questionable. But hope you guys enjoyed the video. Do appreciate you watching. If you enjoyed, hit that like button down below before you do get out of here. Hit that subscribe button as well. Be sure to click the notification bell so that way you do get notified every time I upload. You never miss out on any of my new videos. And you also get notified every time I do go live. I'm not sure yet if I'll be streaming. This will be something we need to keep an eye on. But throughout the day, I'll maybe try and update you guys like on Twitter or something if I'm able to stream. Don't know yet. I might have some plans Wednesday afternoon. But if I'm able to stream, I should be live around 4 Eastern on my YouTube channel. You guys can check out the stream and get your questions answered. We can talk through everything on tonight's slate. But yeah, good luck tonight, guys. Thanks for watching the video. Hope you enjoyed. We'll see you in the next one. Peace.